What's up? Locked in. Monday night, September 22nd. The judge issued an order today. And it looks like Puffy's in good shape. Jamil, what's up, man? Jalen Thomas. What's up with you? All right, so it looks like we got some good news on Puff. Ilya Davis, what up? Wise Eyes TV, what's up? All right, so Jersey Rich, I see you. Jeremy Crawford. All right, so we got another order issued today. This is from Judge Subramanian, docket number 509, document number 509, Intelligent Hoodlum, what up? Anthony Duncan. And it was filed today. It's just a one-page document. And what Judge Subramanian is asking for, what that hearing is going to deal with on Thursday, he's being very specific with what Jamil, what's up, man? Jamil got the channel membership. You see the channel membership right there. You got the channel membership right there. What he's asking for, he's being very specific, and the pressure is on the Southern District of New York. If you read, and we're going to go through this, if you read this, Judge Subramanian is putting all of the pressure on the Southern District of New York to prove why, number one, Puffy shouldn't be acquitted. Number two, should his conviction for prostitution stand? And if they can't support that argument, maybe it's a Rule 29 acquittal. If, I'm purely speculating here, if the Southern District of New York was to make an argument as to why the prostitution should stand, then he very well may be granting a Rule 33 new trial. Okay? United States of America against Sean Combs. Arun Subramanian, United States District Judge. This is from the judge. The parties have asked the court, have asked me, what issues they should focus on during Thursday's hearing on Puffy's post-trial motions. That's the Rule 29 motion for acquittal and the Rule 33 motion for a new trial. In addition to any other issues the parties wish to bring up, the court would like the parties to address the following questions. Number one, in response to Musacchio, Blazek, and Dennis, does the Southern District of New York have any Supreme Court cases or Second Circuit cases that has deemed a defendant's Rule 29 argument waived or forfeited in circumstances such as those presented in this case? So it sounds like the Southern District of New York is making a case that Puffy's Rule 29 argument was somehow waived or forfeited. For some circumstance in this case. I was there I was in the courtroom when Alexandra Shapiro stood up and asked for a Rule 29 and when she asked for the mistrial. So that's number one that Judge Subramanian put down. Number two, if Puffy were to prevail on his construction of quote unquote prostitution, then would his conviction of the two Mann Act counts nevertheless stand on a quote unquote aiding and abetting or quote unquote willfully causing theory? Why or why not? So what Judge Subramanian is saying here is that Alexandra Shapiro's argument about the definition of prostitution and the Mann Act, which I've gone over extensively, if that were to win and it comes out that the term prostitution as given to the jurors in the jury instructions doesn't, if Alexander Shapiro's argument that the real definition of prostitution is not what's the word I'm looking for, is not the actual meaning, right, as the Mann Act intended when the Mann Act was enacted, which was in 1910 or 1917. I think 1910. So, if the judge was to say, you know what, Alexander Shapiro, Puffy, you're right. You're right. The definition that I gave the jury instructions was wrong. And the real definition of the Mann Act and prostitution was what it actually meant at the time in 1910 when the act was enacted, which at that point it was specifically and exclusively for women and girls. That's not Puffy's case. Puffy had male entertainers that he hired from a legitimate business. So if Judge Subramanian was to say, you know what, the Mann Act doesn't apply, the way it was enacted does not apply to this case, and Puffy should have those convictions overturned. But then he's saying, do these convictions, if they don't meet that threshold, should these convictions still stand because he was aiding and abetting, meaning he was a participant in, right? Or number two, he was willfully causing, meaning he set out, his intent, his mens rea, his mentality was to set out to do prostitution. You know, then he's asking, why or why not? Number three, addressing the O'Brien factors. Why is the Southern District of New York's interest important, quote unquote, and the Mann Act's prohibitions, quote unquote, no more than essential? Question, I don't know. I don't know what O'Brien is. What are the number one and number two best Supreme Court or Second Circuit cases supporting each side's position on these factors? Now, in bullet point number one and bullet point number three, Judge Subramanian is being real stringent and real strict and real narrow. He's saying, you know, fuck the Third Circuit, the Ninth Circuit, the Fifth Circuit. When you come to court Thursday, you should be talking only about Supreme Court cases and cases in the Second Circuit, which encompasses New York State. So you can't, he don't want you to bring no precedents from Nevada, Mississippi, Illinois. He don't want you to bring none of those types of cases. It has to be from the Supreme Court or the Second Circuit, which is interesting, which is very interesting. That's interesting. So this is Sean, you took your shower? Go get you a Benadryl out of the medicine cabinet. The pressure is on the Southern District of New York. Southern District of New York is under pressure. He's telling them in the first response, in the second response, and the third bullet point, the government. When he says the government, he's talking about the Southern District of New York. When it says the court, he's referring to himself. When he says the defendant, he's talking about Puff. Bullet point number 4. Puffy argues that the record shows that every time an escort traveled across state lines and had sex, he filmed it. Is that true? If it is, does it change the First Amendment analysis? If Puff is right, and if the defense is right, that every time a male escort traveled across state lines to have sex with Cassie or Jane, and he filmed it, if they can show through the videos that are in evidence that the videos where he recorded Cassie and Jane having sex with the male escorts, and those were the only times that they traveled across state lines and he filmed it, then by right, a prostitution conviction would violate his First Right Amendment. That his First Right Amendment, freedom of expression, he has a right to make amateur tapes, amateur film involving sex for himself. So the prostitution convictions would then need to be overturned, would then need to be vacated. Milton Scott. That's big. And the government, the Southern District of New York, has to prove otherwise. Excuse me. Sean. Yo. What you doing? Put a shirt on too. Bullet point number 4. Bullet point number 4. Puffy argues that the record shows that every time a male escort traveled across state lines, making it federal, and had sex, he filmed it. If that's true, then a conviction on the Mann Act is a violation of Puffy's First Amendment right of freedom of expression. You can record you and your girlfriend, you and your side piece, you and your wife, you and your lover, you and your one-night stand. And that's not criminal. That's an expression of your First Amendment right. Then he says, the parties will be given up to 20 minutes each to address any other issues. So after they get through, these 4 bullet points, then they'll have 20 minutes to talk about whatever else they want to talk about. Sentencing guidelines. Me personally, I think, that, what's up? You took a shot? We're going to read a little Reginald Lewis too before we take it down. I think that there is not going to be an October 3rd sentencing. Me personally, I believe that this is it, right? I believe that Thursday, when Puff,
Fifth Third Bank keeps your money safe with
McCann Cornell, what up? A few. I believe that when they walk out of the court Thursday, Puffy will be walking out of the court as well. I'm not going to be there Thursday. I'm not going Thursday. I got something else that I'm doing. I kind of hate I'm not going to be there, but I'm not going to be there. But I think Thursday, it's it. That's a great question. Slesbag 179. Will the judge make the decision at the hearing or will it be made later? I don't know. I guess I'm saying Thursday. You know, typically what has happened during the trial, sometimes he would make a ruling on an issue that day, and then other times he would say, let me think about it, take a break, and I'll tell you by the afternoon. Other times he would come back the next day. So I think Thursday is going to be it. I think I heard it's good news. through the grapevine, and according to my contacts, I heard Thursday is gonna be good news for Puff. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. I will be getting the transcript on the case on Thursday or whenever it comes out. So I'll be reporting on what happens. But there's a very good chance that this case may be over. Southbound 3000, what up? Georgia Gumby represent. I think it's over. Because this document puts the onus squarely on the Southern District of New York. You know, because I thought about it. I said, and this is why I think Judge Subramanian is going to rule in Puffy's favor, because if he wasn't considering a Rule 29 acquittal, if he wasn't considering a Rule 33 new trial, he could have just wrote an order. He wrote this today. Puffy's lawyers, Alexander Shapiro, they wrote the Rule 29. They did it about the 6th week of the trial, and then she did a couple of other ones about 2 weeks ago. If he was like, man, fuck y'all and whatever y'all saying, he would have just wrote an order and said, Rule 29 denied, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Rule 33 denied, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, U, R, S, T, U, V. And no hearing. Why have a full-blown hearing in court with the lawyers, with the Southern District of New York prosecutors, with Puff, 8 days before sentencing? Sentencing is the following Friday, 8 days away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The sentencing is 11 days away. Puffy is not facing no new charges. It's over, man. What is he going to face? What new charges is he going to face? They're not bringing no other charges. He just has to get all of these civil cases. All of the civil cases are going to get thrown out because he beat the most serious charges, which was the RICO. All the other charges are going to get thrown out. 100%. 100%. Only one person's civil case won, and that was Cassie, which was full of lies, full of perjury, and that was the underpinning of this case. Without Cassie's lawsuit, none of this takes place. Dawn Richard's lawsuit is going to get thrown out. Brianna Bogelin's lawsuit is going to get thrown out. Mia's lawsuit is going to get thrown out. Who else is suing him? whoever else is suing him is going to get thrown out, all of them. There's going to be no more criminal case. There's no more criminal charges for Puff. It's over. It'll be time for him. It'll be time for Puff to get out and resume his life. If he's granted a new trial, he will beat it and be exonerated of prostitution. He's already exonerated of sex trafficking. He's already exonerated of racketeering, conspiracy, bribery, arson, coercion, force, violence, distribution of drugs. All of those, he was found not guilty. So the only thing that would have been achieved by all of this is that they tarnished his name and tarnished his image and his reputation. And that can be rehabilitated. You can rebuild your name. You can rebuild your image of certain things. You can rebuild your reputation of certain things, not everything. You can't rebuild from everything. But from what he was dealing with, all of that can be rebuilt. And that process has already started. Renee, do you think the judge is just trying to cover his tracks in the event of an appeal as to why he did it, just to write an order to deny him the trial? I don't know, you might be right, but they're going to appeal anyway. If he's not given a new trial or not acquitted, he's going to get appealed. So I feel good about Thursday. It's been a long fight, a long battle. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. And I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine, man. Anthony Duncan, appreciate you, man. But this document, this is from Judge Subramanian. He ain't saying nothing to Puffy's lawyers now. He ain't saying that Puffy's lawyers now gotta prove nothing. But they certainly will prepare for each. They certainly will prepare for each and every bullet point. They'll be ready, 100%. But the Southern District of New York is going to do most of the talking. And I wonder who it's going to be. Who is going to step up to the plate and make that argument? I think it would have to be one of the assistant U.S. attorneys that tried the case. I think if they brought in a new lead assistant U.S. attorney to try to argue this, I think the judge will look down upon that and will acquit Puff. So one of those assistant U.S. attorneys are going to have to step up to the plate and make it happen. And that's going to be a lot of pressure for, that's going to be a lot of pressure for whoever to do. Maureen Comey, she could do it. Maureen Comey could get up there and make a real strong case, probably against all of these, and be convincing. Them other U.S. attorneys, assistant U.S. attorneys, no. I don't even know if those other assistant U.S. attorneys have even done this kind of thing at a trial. So, and then once again, you got to understand that there's a lot of pressure. This is a highly publicized case. The Southern District of New York has already suffered a blow. Absolutely. Maureen Comey could still be meeting with, look at them veins in my arm, man. Maureen Comey probably is still meeting with her assistant U.S. attorneys at her house or at a library or somewhere, and they're going over the case together. Or she, I don't know, but somebody just left that comment. So, this makes me feel good. This makes me feel good. And if Puffy's legal team were to prevail, oh man. If Puffy and his legal team were to prevail, he won't be a convicted felon. All of it would have been all for naught. All for naught. Y'all see me keep yawning. I'm taking Benadryl. Me and Sean are taking Benadryl because our allergies are acting up. Because the weather's changing here in New Jersey, so we both been sneezing a lot. Sidebar. Wow, man, what a case, man. What a case. What a case. But I heard it through the grapevine that it's good news for Puff. I heard it through the grapevine that it's good news. That is good news for him, man. So things are looking up. Things are looking up for Puff, man. I just think it's just a matter of time. And like I say, when he scheduled this hearing, the first thing that came to my mind was, like, why is he scheduling a hearing 8 days before sentencing on some issues whereby he could just write a one-page letter, say Rule 29 motion denied, Rule 33 motion denied, and here's why. And I'll see you guys on October the 3rd. Why have this hearing 8 days before? That right there to me is a great sign. Yeah, for this, the way I read this, it's like Judge Subramanian has already decided to acquit Puff or give him a new trial, but he's telling the Southern District of New York, y'all got to come in here and convince me otherwise. And otherwise, if you don't, I'm going to acquit this man and send him home. He's already sat in jail a year. Or I'm going to give this man what he's asking for, a new trial. Even if he were to offer a new trial, the Southern District of New York wouldn't prosecute it because they know they would lose and they would spend more money. They probably would just say, we're not going to try the case, let him go home. And he'll have no convictions. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. So when I saw this about 2 weeks ago, I said Puff is gonna go home. I said it's not even gonna be a sentence, man. There's not even gonna be a sentencing day. Not even gonna be one. It won't even make it. And from the looks of it, it don't look like it is. Because I read all of the paperwork. Every time Alexander Shapiro filed something, man, I read it. You know, and her letter motions were so tight, man. Her motions were so tight, airtight, pro. You know, I watched on YouTube a little bit of the Cardi B trial. And Cardi B's lawyers, the prosecution, and the other, not the prosecution, but the plaintiff's lawyers. It was like an amateur show, man. It was like an amateur show. You know I'm going to get that interview. You deserve that first interview. You already know it. Yeah. I read all of those motions, man, and they were super tight. Super tight. They're pros. Pros. Cardi B's lawyers they were like, it was embarrassing. It was truly like, you know, like a ghetto court case, man. It was truly like a low-grade performance by the attorneys. Compared to this case, I couldn't even watch it. I couldn't even take that trial serious. You know, I've never been to a trial before. I've never going to this trial was my first time. But this shit was Rod D. What's up, man? Right. McCann Corner. It looked like a municipal court, like a traffic ticket case, man. And I haven't. This is my first trial going to, but it was professional, man. Professional, unquestionable, without doubt, superb. So full of action, my name should be a verb. My voice will flow. Al Ra, what up? On every note. When I clear my throat, that's all she wrote. So this is what we're doing, man. This is what we're doing, man. I will get the first interview with Puff. Puffy will do an interview on this channel. 100%. 1000%. If there's anybody, any reporter that deserves the first interview, it's me. Not only have I been told that by a lot of people in the comments section on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, but I'm saying it because I know the situation. I was there. I was there. I was there for the whole thing. I was that lone voice. I was that lone voice speaking and breathing life back into his name when nobody else was, when everybody was dogging him out. Even the ones that came around later on and changed their stance and became pro-Puff, in the beginning they weren't. In the beginning they weren't. Yep. I impacted that trial. 100%. That's a fact. That's a fact. So, we'll see, man. It's gonna be epic. Put me on the public relations team. I'm speaking honestly. And not, this isn't guesswork. This isn't personal, emotional feeling about what I say. These are facts, man. And I say it from the depth of my soul. And I say it from every tissue in my heart, that the podcast was sold, that me, Sean G, I had a major impact on this trial. And I don't even feel uneasy when I say that. I don't feel unsure. I know for a fact. And I don't say it in an arrogant or braggadocious way. That's just facts. That's just facts. All of the reporters, all of the newscasters, all of the podcasters, everybody that's lining up now to do an interview with Puff, willing to pay. I ain't paying. All of the major news networks, mainstream media, all of them are lining up to pay him to do interviews with them now, were the very same ones that were maligning his name, assassinating his character, putting out false information, encouraging the public perception to be negative, facilitating a negative impression, wishing for his downfall. Those are the same ones now that want an interview, which just goes to show how treacherous the human being is. Turn that TV off, Sean, and go to sleep. Go to sleep. We read that Reginald Lewis tomorrow, which just goes to show how treacherous the human being is. If I was on Diddy's PR team, no interviews about the case for at minimum a year or so. Focus on his family, staying sober, and getting his life back on track. TMZ, Court TV, all of them was biased. Puff shouldn't give any mainstream media any dibs, only independent media. Sean Combs is an icon. Yeah, if he gets the Rule 29 acquittal or the Rule 33 new trial, he could do interviews right away, right? But if they were to let the conviction stand, and he gets sentenced, even if he gets home confinement or probation, a stipulation in his probation officer may have in his or her stipulations that he can't do any media, can't be seen on social media, can't do any kind of appearances on any form of media until he's off probation. Nah, no school tomorrow here neither. But we'll see what happens. So, but I know I'm gonna get my interview. 100%. Yeah, I homeschooled little Sean too, but I let him go to school too. I let him go for social interaction. Social interaction, you know, but the real study and most of the real study, me and him do that alone. It's a shame how black people let these other people put things on your own people like they wouldn't do it to them also. So we'll see how it goes, man. I feel pretty good about everything. Like I say, I think it's over. I think it's over on Thursday. I don't think the Southern District of New York is going to be able to prove none of these bullet points without a strong argument from Puffy's lawyers as to why Puff should be granted. Come here. Come here. Luna over there looking at me. Well, the one thing about the Mann Act within the federal Department of Justice is that in a memo, in the manual, United States Attorney's Manual, it says that no U.S. attorney should even think about prosecuting a Mann Act charge for non-commercial reasons. The only way a prosecution case should be brought to federal court is if it was for financial gain. That is their dictum. That is the Department of Justice's ruling, opinion, the way they feel about it. So that being the case, Puffy doesn't fit that. So you gotta give him a Rule 29 acquittal. You gotta give him a Rule 29 acquittal. Oh man. I'm beat. Ah man. I've been working out every day, man. I've been working out every day. I did 12 sets of calisthenics today, man. I've been going hard. What y'all want to talk about now? Zoban Johnson, thank you, man. Aaron Stein, if Puff doesn't get new trial and not time served, he's good between First Step Act and what, as he's already served. Puff did his time for being a client. Yeah, 100%. You know, they've gotten what they wanted out of him. You know, if you wanted public humiliation, you got that. If you wanted him to serve some jail time to say, oh, he's been to jail, okay, you got that. But that doesn't mean nothing. Who cares what the public says? Who cares about doing jail time? That jail time ain't did nothing but make that man stronger. J Mastermind, what up? Yeah, you already know, Jay. It's over with, man. This thing is done. It's over. All right, y'all, let me get over here. Like I say, I won't be at the hearing on Thursday. I got something else better I'm doing. But I will have a copy of the transcript and will be reporting on the case from wherever I am. I'm going to report every day. So let's see how it goes. All right. Peace out, y'all. Peace.